PlayStation VR has been a subject that I think a lot of people have been gravitating towards. I know that it's still not as big as the general PlayStation 4 install base, however, a lot of people are jumping on the PSVR train, and for good reason. There are a lot of compelling games already out with Astrobot Rescue Mission. You've got games like Firewall Zero Hour, which is a PlayStation Plus freebie this month, but you've also got a lot of high-quality titles coming out in the rest of 2020. And in this video, I want to go over the top 20 upcoming PlayStation VR games for the rest of 2020. Now, I do have to note one thing. With PlayStation VR, it's really interesting with game releases because sometimes games just get announced and then they come out a few months later, so it's really hard to identify all of the games just because more games are going to announce and then going to come out really quick after that, so just bear that in mind. We're going over the games that we know about for sure. Kicking things off, we have After the Fall. It's from the creators of the hit VR shooter Arizona Sunshine, and it comes as an epic multiplayer VR action FPS with seamless cooperative gameplay at its core that pits up to 4 players against a vast, hostile VR world in a raging fight for survival. Set in the ice-covered ruins of LA nearly 20 years after the apocalypse, After the Fall combines a living, breathing VR world shared with players from all over the world, a cinematic atmospheric campaign, action-packed solo and multiplayer gameplay, and endgame built from the ground up for PlayStation VR. Another pretty interesting shooter here for PSVR, and this one having a talented studio working behind it, that obviously makes you even more excited for it. Definitely a game that's on my radar, and it will be out sometime in 2020. Next up, we have Paper Beast, another very interesting title. It's a playful exploration game set in a colorful ecosystem born out of big data. Undertake a virtual journey of discovery through an immersive and poetic gameplay experience. Somewhere deep down in the vast memory of a data server, an ecosystem has emerged. Decades of lost code and forgotten algorithms have accumulated in the eddies and flows of the internet. A small bubble of life has blossomed. Paper Beast is born. The game's got an awesome art style, and I feel like that is one of the main drawing factors of the game. Releasing Q1 2020, and it's being done by Pixel Reef. Paper Beast does look very good. It'll be worth your while to check out that one. Next up, we have Covert. Covert is a cooperative heist game that lets you and a friend work together in and out of VR. The game's got a pretty interesting take. Recruited by a mysterious client, you and a partner take on a series of high-profile heists, utilize gadgets to infiltrate the various facilities as the crafty thief in VR, and breach through security systems as the clever hacker on a mobile device. Cooperation and trust will be necessary to sneak past guards, hack through laser grids, crack saves, and much more. Pretty charming looking game as well. Covert doesn't have an official release date yet, but it should be out later this month. Next up, we have Iron Man VR. I should say Marvel's Iron Man VR. I gotta give them some credit. Iron Man VR was a game that was supposed to be out later this month, but unfortunately it did see a little bit of a delay. The game itself knows Tony Stark has retired from making weapons and instead creates technology used to battle evil as Iron Man. After several years as a world-famous superhero, Tony is attacked by the mysterious Ghost, a hacker and anti-corporate activist who repurposes old Stark Industries weapons in her effort to topple his empire. Ghost attacks Stark's corporate locations around the world, leading to an ever-escalating stakes and a final showdown. I'm hoping for the best out of Marvel's Iron Man VR. Look, when you think about Marvel and you think about PlayStation 4, everybody's gonna think about Marvel's Spider-Man, but Iron Man having a quality video game, hey, that's something I can definitely get behind. This one looks good. I know some people were disappointed that it's a VR exclusive, but I do think it's gonna be a pretty good title. It should be out May 16th. Next up, we have Space Channel 5 VR Kinda Funky Newsflash. Welcome to Space Channel 5 VR Kinda Funky Newsflash, a simple dance rhythm game for everyone. Follow the prompts on screen and strike a pose. You'll soon be dancing and saving the universe before you know it. Of course, Space Channel 5 is a franchise that goes back a long time and set in the 25th century. Space Channel 5's top reporter Eulala is hosting a news report on mysterious dancing incident involving the aliens known as Moralians. That forces people to dance. Fight against the invading aliens by dancing and receiving more views and helping Eulala win the ultimate dance battle. Obviously, there's going to be some nostalgia attached to this release, but it will be headed to PlayStation VR sometime in the spring. Next up, we have Humanity. Humanity is a game that touts a simple, iconic look, bellies a deep and unique game exploring the very nature of humankind. We don't know much about the game, but it's got a very, very unique look, and I think it's a game that, presentation-wise, is going to be very captivating for a lot of people. It is out sometime in 2020, and definitely a game you want to keep on your radar. Not fully sold on this one yet, but it definitely does have some interesting elements attached to it. Next up, here's a game that definitely is going to have some interest, The Walking Dead Onslaught. So Walking Dead coming to VR, that's going to be exciting. Fight your fears head-on in The Walking Dead Onslaught, the official VR game of AMC's The Walking Dead. Experience all new exclusive Walking Dead story beats, defend yourself with real motion melee and range combat, and confront both the horrors and humanity of the apocalypse. So Walking Dead is a franchise that many people are partial towards. I know Walking Dead, a Telltale series, was tremendous. There have been some other Walking Dead games that have been not so good, but there are a lot of potential in Walking Dead as a franchise, and fight your fears head on. This is the official Walking Dead VR title, and we do have other Walking Dead games to go over. We'll get into that in a little bit, but they're progressing VR with interactions between you and an object, offering a variety of end results through multiple thresholds. It's the most visceral combat experience that Survios has built to date. Delimbing, carving, impaling, context-based physics, it's got it all in Walking Dead Onslaught, and it will be out sometime in 2020. Speaking of Walking Dead, this one recently came out on PC and was received incredibly well. Walking Dead Saints and Sinners will be coming to PlayStation 4 later this year, and this is a game that I'm very much excited for just because we already know that it's a great game based on the reception on PC. It has a very positive reception on Steam, 1,295 Steam user reviews, 90% positive, which is really good for a VR game. A lot of the times the VR games do falter at around the 75-80%, but at 90% it's really good. The general reviews from critics have been good, and Saints and Sinners is a game unlike any other in the Walking Dead universe. Every challenge you face and decision you make is driven by you. Fight the undead, scavenge through the flooded ruins of New Orleans, and face gut-wrenching choices for you and the other survivors. Live the Walking Dead. A lot in this game, a new way to live survival horror with the living, dead, disease, and famine as constant threats. You have countless ways to tackle these dangers. Face the undead guns blazing, or learn all the ways to sneak and hide among them. Take on missions from different factions and survivors to earn valuable resources. Risk life and limb to protect those that you need, or brutally murder anyone who stands in your way. See how all of your choices affect the people of New Orleans, and learn to live with the consequences. A lot of variety in the game as well. Released at $39.99 on PC. Can't wait for it to come out on PlayStation 4 later this year. Next up, we have Gorn, a ridiculously violent VR gladiator simulator made by Free Lives, the developers of Broforce and Genital Jousting. As I mentioned, a lot of the times the VR, as far as PC releases go, they will falter at around 75 to 80% on Steam reception. Gorn is a game that was received a lot better than that. Overwhelmingly positive, 95% positive, based on 4,776 user reviews and 85 on Metacritic, which is very good. It's a pretty brutal game. It's ridiculously violent, pretty bloody, featuring a unique, fully physics-based combat engine. Gorn combatants will be able to create and execute their most violent gladiatorial fantasies in virtual reality. Savagely strike down an infinite supply of poorly animated opponents with all manner of weapons, from swords, maces, and bows to nunchucks even. Was released at $19.99 on PC. I think this is going to be a fun little game for a lot of people to check out on PSVR, and it should be out later in 2020. Next up, we have Zero Caliber VR, a game that is in early access on PC right now and received pretty good at that. It's a military FPS developed for VR exclusively. Play the single-player campaign or fight alongside your friends in co-op, and a PvP mode is coming as well. Customize your weapons on the fly. Use realistic weapon handling and physics to accomplish your mission in saving humanity. A lot of first-person shooters on VR have been a little iffy. Firewall Zero Hour is one that I'll always go back to and definitely recommend, but Zero Caliber VR looks very good in its own right. It's $24.99 on PC in early access. The price might go up when the game actually finally comes out, but hopefully Zero Caliber VR will be out in its premiere state sometime later in 2020. Next up, we have a very artistic title in Pistolwhip. This is the kind of game that, for me, is right up my alley with VR. It was already released on PC back in November of 2019, coming to PSVR later this year, and it's an unstoppable action rhythm FPS journey through a cinematic bullet hell powered by a breakneck soundtrack to become the ultimate action hero legend. Received pretty well, very positive reviews, 915 Steam reviews, 92% positive, $24.99 release price, and I think if you're a fan of music rhythm games, hey, if you're a fan of games like Beat Saber and you want a little bit of this kind of flair to it, I think you're going to enjoy it quite a bit. We don't have an official release date, but it should be out sometime later this year. Next up, we have Elysia, a VR MMO RPG. Coming spring 2020, it's a multiplayer online VR RPG set in the world of Elysia. Players will travel alongside one another as they quest and explore a multitude of unique areas. Each area contains area bosses, dungeons, caves, and larger outdoor cities, all waiting to be explored. A VR MMORPG is something that is incredibly ambitious. It'll be interesting to see how something like this turns out, but they are touting hundreds of hours of questing, exploring, and hunting. Navigate the environment with complete freedom, climb trees, rocks, and buildings, explore hidden caves, and hunt for treasures through unique climbing experiences. Players will find themselves dangling from cliff edges, jumping from ledge to ledge, and leaping into deep lagoons. Elysia is going for something very ambitious, so from that standpoint, I can always appreciate that, and it should be out sometime in the spring of this year. Next up, we have Eclipse Edge of Light. Explore an unknown world, discover its past, uncover its mystery. Eclipse is a first-person sci-fi adventure game. After crash landing on a sentient planet, you awake to find a dreamscape world filled with discovery, wonder, and the littered remains of a betrayed civilization. Has a pretty good art style, looks like more of an adventure, low-key puzzle title, but still looks rather good. Was released on PC back in January of 2019, $14.99 release, and not a lot of people played it, which is a little bit of a bummer, but hopefully on PS4 does get a little bit of a second wind. Next up, we have Down the Rabbit Hole, which is bringing Wonderland to VR in fascinating ways, as noted by Upload VR, who have a great preview of the game. The moment I jumped into the demo for the latest game from Wands developer Cartopia, it clicked. Mashing novel with VR, it plays a little like a panoramic comic book with new panels unfolding around you as you move your characters from one scene to the next. This is a game that has a really great art style, and I think for people that want something a little bit more nostalgic and something that is very engaging, but at the same time it's good for anybody of any age range, it's gonna be a quality title, and Down the Rabbit Hole will be out sometime later in 2020. Next up, we have Budget Cuts VR. This is a rather interesting game, and that's what I think is the imperative with VR. They are trying some very innovative stuff with VR. Escape the ultimate career killers, put on the PlayStation VR headset to unleash your inner office spy ninja skills, and save both you and your job, your life, in this unique PS4 stealth game. As an employee at mega conglomerate Transcorp, your role as a paper shuffling filer has been put under threat by the arrival of cost-cutting robots, and as the latest co-worker has been dragged off to the terrifying HR department, your only chance to survive is to take matters into your own hands. Budget Cuts VR looks to be out later in 2020, and I think it's an interesting enough game that it is going to gain some traction. Next up, we have Pistolwhip 1995. Pistolwhip is back with a brand new nostalgia-fueled virtual reality game within a game. This time in 1995, help our hero Dot face challenging throwbacks to all your favorite 16 and 32-bit classics while surviving the struggles of a typical 9-year-old kid. The first title was really well received, and Pistolwhip 1995 looks to do more of that when it comes spring of 2020. Next up, we have The Room VR, A Dark Matter, the British Institute of Archaeology, London, 1908, a disappearance, and it's up to you to solve what's going on. Explore cryptic locations, examine fantastic gadgets, and uncover an otherworldly discovery which blurs the line between reality and illusion. Designed from the ground up for the unique capabilities of virtual reality, players can inhabit the spine-tingling world of The Room and interact with its strange contraptions in this compelling new chapter. Obviously, The Room is a game that's been around for a very long time. Now it makes the transition to VR, and it'll be coming in spring of 2020. Next up, we have Solaris Offworld Combat coming in 2020. This is a game being done by the same guys that made Firewall Zero Hour and First Contact Entertainment. We don't know much about the game, but given the fact that it's a shooter coming from the guys that did Firewall, I think it's going to be a really good title. This one definitely has a different tone to it, but as far as VR fans go, everybody loved Firewall Zero Hour, and I think Solaris Offworld Combat is going to be more of that. It's coming sometime in 2020. Next up, we have Star Child, which is a VR game that's been getting quite a bit of attention from fans of VR. Take control of the world, embark on a narrative-driven action-adventure enhanced by the power of VR in Star Child. After becoming stranded, Spectra and her companion uncover a hostile, overwhelming force that threatens to destroy everything. At a pivotal, startling moment, Spectra gains the ability to gradually take control of the world around her and fight back. Crash landing while on a mission to aid the Meridian facility in deep space, Spectra and her repair crew, King, fight to get the planet's defense system back online before a dangerous alien entity completely takes over. Get ready for an atmospheric cinematic adventure of friendship, transformation, and sacrifice. That'll be coming sometime in 2020. And lastly, we have Sniper Elite VR. Yes, a very prominent franchise is making the transition to VR, with Sniper Elite making its way over to the PlayStation VR headset. Go deep into the fascist-held locations across World War II Italy in a dedicated VR stealth action experience from the makers of Battlezone and Sniper Elite 4. Arm yourself with authentic World War II era weaponry and freely traverse huge levels packed with tactical possibilities as you embark on a resistance campaign against fascist forces. Sniper Elite is a franchise that I've always dug. I don't think it's gotten the credit that it necessarily deserves, but seeing it make the transition to VR, I think this is a game that's going to be great in VR, especially if we get some brutal looking kills in VR. That's going to be really cool to see. But that's going to conclude this video. Again, PlayStation VR looks to have a stacked lineup in 2020, even more so stacked than the previous years. I've been touting how good the games have been getting, and with this level of quantity in the game releases as well, and you're talking about the quality going up. Man, I know VR is a pricey thing to get into, but I really think it's worth it if you have interest in virtual reality and you don't mind the hassle of setting it up. It has a lot of high quality games and a lot of unique experiences. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.